Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Sam Healey, what's up? Welcome back, y'all.
Today we're taking a look at Defenders of the Realm.
Defenders of the Last Stand. Get it right, you plebeian.
Defenders of the Last Stand is a game by Richard Launius. It's a post-apocalyptic adventure board game for 1 to 5 players.
You read the box? Is that what it?
Yeah, it says it right here.
Woo!
That's my teleprompter screen.
Yeah,
this is a cooperative game that is highly based on Defenders of the Realm. All right.
Yes.
Which in itself was a little similar to Pandemic, but this is a far cry. This takes place in a Mad Maxian style universe where you are defending a city called The Last Stand against road warriors, against mutants, against
people riding big woolly men.
New Agers. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy society.
Very much so.
So we're going to take a look at how the game plays, and then we'll tell you what we think.
Let's go.
Now in this game, you are going to be a hero defending a city here called Last Stand. And you're going to be defending this from all sorts of crazy people, including some really big leaders and their gangs. Here you got guys riding motorcycles, which are actually 2 different models which you put together. You got some people here who are just defending the land. We got these guys here who just love finding ancient tech, also known as modern tech for us. And then over here we got the monstrous Puke. Okay, who's just a monster for whatever reason. He's a mutant monster. And you're going to be defending Last Stand. To win this game, you need to defeat all 4 of these leaders. There's 4 leaders that start on the board. Or you need to complete a mission objective if there is one of those. Now, most of the time, if this is the basic game that I'm showing you. This is a sample setup for that. Now, it's easy to lose if any of the leaders moves into Last Stand, and each leader has a movement path that they'll be following on the board. You lose. If there's oil and ammunition stands, depot tokens, that are around the board, and if you need to put another one of these out and you can't, you lose. If you need to add more people to the board of any of the colors and you don't have that color, you will lose. Or if 4 or more regular troops of the bad guys get into Last Stand, you will also lose. So you're going to need to stop them. So each player is going to pick a character, and the game comes with a whole pile of various. We got this guy's just named as Hat. And this guy is Bama's ex-bodyguard. And here we have Joshua. And each of these characters has special abilities. They have stats here for when they roll tests. Sometimes you'll need to roll a test in a certain thing. You'll roll that many dice, and a success is if you get a 5 or 6 on the dice. Then here's Calendar. I think it's maybe Calendar. Midnight Peril. So you can see there's all sorts of people. They have special abilities, and they have ability here where they can use one of these fortune tokens or karma tokens, If you spend a karma token, you can then use this special ability. So they have a couple regular abilities, and then a special ability and stats here. Each one also comes with a matching plastic figure that matches that character. And in this scenario, which is Defend Last Stand, you will start in Last Stand. On the flip side, each of the big bad guys also comes with stats. They start with a certain number of wounds based, usually a number of players, and they have special abilities too. And you are trying to defeat these guys. If you defeat them, you then become the Slayer of Puke, which sounds like a band name actually, and then you'll more easily be able to defeat Puke's minions. Their minions are actually different. Some of them are easier to beat, some of them are harder to beat. For example, these monstrosities, there's very few of them on the board, but when you go and fight one of those, you will turn over a monstrosity card to see what kind of monstrosity it is. An armadillo, a firebug, a scallion, a slither, a skeeter, clacker, fang, dust devil, and each one of those is different on how you fight them. The other characters, when you fight them, like when you fight a techie mob, for example, you only need a 3 or higher to hit them, but the chance of them showing up on the board is much higher than that. The Earther war parties are a little bit harder, and then the Road Rider gangs are even harder than that. So there's different kinds of cards that are going to be on the board, and they're going to be showing up. This deck uses a deck of Raider cards, and after each player's turn, they'll be drawing a Raiders card, and it's going to be showing you where on the board. This is a numbered location that certain people will show up on the board. At the beginning of the game, it's usually only the top of the card that happens. After you kill a leader, then maybe it's both of them that happen. Sometimes you draw even multiple cards. And then these cards also show if the leader will move forward. So this says Crank moves to White Crater. Is Crank next to White Crater? No, so he doesn't move. But if he had been next to White Crater, he would have moved. So you always have to be careful because eventually they will move into Last Stand. These cards also have special events at the bottom, which will have more karma tokens show up on the board and other things. So players are trying to stop these because the enemies are just going to keep multiplying. And if there's ever more than 3 enemies that show up in an area, they will kind of, let's say we have to add 2 to number 14 here. We would simply add a third, and then each adjacent area to this one is going to get one of these. So you see that can bring out a whole pile of them. And where they were, we add another one of those depots. So players need to stop this because you don't want too many of these guys on the board. And if you end your turn where there are them, you will take wounds. Now, wounds are important because each player is going to get a certain number of action tokens, again, based on the number of players, and every time you take a wound, some of your action tokens will turn over into wounds, which gives you fewer action tokens. And you can take your whole turn to heal if you want to, which is really terrible because it wastes the whole turn and the bad guys still move, and there's certain spots on the board that you can heal. There are a lot of different actions that players can take on their turn because they're going to be trying to stop the bad guys from, well, destroying the Last Stand. And so there's many different actions that players can take, and they're going to be spending those actions to do so. And in fact, there's a huge board that shows you all the different actions. Now, some of your actions are simply going to be moving, and some of your actions are going to be fighting creatures, or fighting these bad guys. They're called raiders. When you fight raiders, you simply will roll dice equal to the raiders that you're in. So let's say I use a fight action, and I'm here, I'll roll 1 yellow dice. So I'll probably go here and roll yellow dice. Here I need 4s or higher to get them. I roll, I got one of them. That would be one of my actions to fight them. Now, do I keep fighting them? Well, it's up to me. I can also try to blow these up, and to do that, I'm going to be using cards. Now, there's a pile of cards here, defender cards, that are used in the course of this game. These have multiple uses. The main use is for when you fight one of the big bad bosses. When you move into a spot where you fight a big bad boss, if I'm fighting the Bama, the big green bad boss, the guy driving his car here, he came straight out of Mad Max, I can use this card to give me 1 die to fight him. Well, I'm probably going to need a lot, so I'm going to want to save up green cards. And in fact, multiple players, if they're in the same location, can fight the guy on the same turn together. But these cards also have symbols in the top corner, which allow you to do different things. For example, if you have 2 guns, you can discard them to do 1 damage to one of the leaders. If you have a grenade, you can use those to damage the oil and ammo depots. If you have motorcycles, you can move farther when you are moving on the board. If you have 2 of these, you can the police badge, you can discard those to get an extra card. And you have a glider, you can go up to 4 spots when you spend 1 of these, and you can even go over heavy lines, which normally are impassable. But you see, if you're giving this up, you're giving up 2 dice against puke. So you have these decisions to make, and you have these different cards that you can take. But moving around the board and fighting people is not the only thing you can do. You can also gamble. You'll see there's different spots on the board where you can gamble and try to get more cards. It's going to let you draw more cards from the defender's spot. You can heal. You can pick up karma tokens. So if there's a karma token in an area, like the one here where Joey died here, you can pick up that token. You can scavenge. You can use your scavenge ability and try to get a success. And if you do so, you'll flip this over, which here gives you a unique artifact. And there's all sorts of unique artifacts and common artifacts. So for example, let's show some of these. Here's a common artifact. We have dynamite, or a battered helmet, or a machine pistol, or a supply cache. We also have unique artifacts like high-octane fuel, or a long-range radio, or a fast ride. And each of these gives you special abilities. So you might want to go hunt these down. And sometimes the scenario, you're looking for a very specific one that can help you out. You can also, and this is one of the coolest things that I think of this game, is there's a spot here on the board where there's going to be an adventure. This adventure is determined by a whole deck of adventure cards. And when you go to an adventure, so that the top card says 32, so that's where the adventure token is. You can flip this card over, And then there's some text here, which will tell you, like you found a giant snake, or you're going to try to ride it. It will then tell you how to test it. So this one says, test adventure. So you will go to your thing, and you will test your adventure skill. Once you test your adventure skill, depending on the number of successes you get, you're going to be able to have something maybe good or bad happen to you. Then after you do this adventure, then another adventure. So then the next adventure happens at 12 at the U.S. Army base. So these different adventures are going to be around the board, and players are going to be able to do various things. But when you go off on these adventures, when you go dig for things, when you get karma tokens, that's all well and good. But your main goal is to fight these bosses before they get too far and move into Last Stand and you lose the game. So that's most what goes on. There's a few other rules involved in the game. There are ranger missions that players will start the game with, where each ranger mission tells you what to do, and if you do it, you'll get a reward. Like this one here, that gives you a reward of a barrier, and a barrier you can put around Last Stand. And when there's a barrier there, when the bad guy tries to move in, he basically bounces back. The barrier happens to be a row of cards. There are spots on the board where you have to roll and get mutations. Mutations can be good or bad. Hey, visions. That's a great one. Radiation resistance. That's a great one. Oh, it's a weakness. Not so good. I get extra wounds. Laser eyes. That's amazing. The problem is, you'll notice there's numbers up here. Get too many of those, and your character turns into a mutant, and you have to get another character, and it's not a very good reaction. Those are another addition to the game. And there's also special cards that players can get. And they'll be able to use these special cards to add 2 dice to any leader, or really cool things. So players are going to want to try to get these special cards. There are ancient tech cards. These cards are added to Crank. He's the leader of the techs. He's the weakest one, the easiest one to get. But as the game progresses, he keeps getting these cards added to him randomly from a deck. And when you fight him, you have to deal with all those cards. Some of them do nothing, like cool clothes give him no special ability. They just look good. But some will basically give him some sort of special ability. Like here, before combat, each player has to take D3 wounds. Well, that's not a very useful thing. So that's his special ability, and there's also each of the main bosses has their special ability. So that's kind of a basic overview. You are trying to utilize your actions to defend Last Stand.
Okay, there is a lot of stuff in this box.
A lot of stuff.
I'm actually not real pleased with the box size. This box size just drives me nuts. It doesn't fit on shelves as well as other boxes do.
Yeah.
But you're not going to complain about the massive amount of stuff that's in here.
107 sculptures, 4 clan leaders, 90 tribe minis, 8 monstrosities, 5 rangers, 4 double-sided leaderboards, 5 character boards, 298 cards.
All right, well, so yeah, there's a lot.
And so forth and so on.
The miniatures are not amazing miniatures, but they're pretty good considering you're getting 107 of them.
Yeah, they're decent. They're decent. They're not good.
Although I've seen them paint it, and when they're painted, they look way better.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I will say this. At a moment, you can easily distinguish the different things. They
Yes,
make the
you
guys
can.
in different colors.
Yeah.
The guys riding bikes, I love that.
Right.
It's interesting that they're like 2 sculpts or whatever, so you can.
And you have to put them together, right? Yeah.
But it's not a huge deal, and I just like that it's easy to tell which ones you're like. Okay, the bikes are the hardest ones to hit.
Mm-hmm.
The mutants are this, and they all have a different feel to them also.
Right.
This is a cooperative game that I would put in the category of it's hard but not unbeatable.
Right. Correct.
And it's one of those, and this game really ramps up the hardness because each time you kill a leader, there's a small deck of cards. Each time you kill a leader, it gets harder. You're drawing more cards,
Right.
and the bad guys are harder. And Crank is easy to kill in the beginning, and he gets harder as time goes by.
Yeah, but
if
he
you
buffs up over the game, over the course of the game, right?
But if you kill Crank early, then you're stuck. You got to be careful because most of the monsters just move towards the city. Mm-hmm. But what's his name? The Gloop, Vomit, Puke.
Puke.
Puke can like fly all over the board.
These are different
and
names
he might
for
fly right into the city. If he's the last guy, he could fly right into the city. So you have to be careful. You don't want to leave him the last, even if he's pretty hard to beat.
Correct. Although I think we beat him first, didn't we?
In the last game, yeah. Well, we just. That's because we're not. He looked garbage.
We wasn't going to mess around.
We were taking the puke out.
That's right.
But there were some cool things about this game I liked a lot. The parts of this game I think are great is the story. This game I think is just chock full of post-apocalyptic story that doesn't take itself too seriously. Again,
right.
If you see Mad Max, like Mad Max isn't taking itself too seriously.
Nope.
This is doing the same thing, like the one society, Crank society, they kick people out when they're old, and Crank is starting to get old, so he needs new technology, and that's why he's getting all this new technology, including like a baseball cap, you know.
Right.
And those missions, I just love those missions. There's a whole pile of them. You're going to go through maybe 4 or 5 over the course of a game. Mm-hmm. I just like that kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to go do this, and at the same time, you might say, Sam, do you really want to do that mission? Because right now we need you to come over here and fight these guys off.
Yeah, the adventures really had a pretty cool, immersive storyline aspect to them, where it's not just do this test. It gives you background story on what you're doing, gives you flavor text on the people that you're interacting with at that part, at that place, whatever it might be. So it's little nuggets of storyline that are kind of sprinkled throughout this entire game, and it really does make the game come alive, and I really enjoyed them a lot.
Other thing I like how each character has a very different feel to them.
Yes.
They have 2 special abilities, different stats, and so you can go around. You might be digging for finding these artifacts, which also I like. They upgrade your character.
Right.
I just liked how you feel like a powerful warrior. You feel like the hero of a story.
Yeah.
Sure, these guys will be hitting you for wounds, but you're taking out piles of them.
Okay.
You go in an area like just mowing people down, and that feels good. Yes, those big bad guys, they're way more powerful than you are.
It definitely has a Book of Eli feel whenever you're fighting people, because you just walk in and you just take everybody out more often than not.
Right. And sometimes, though, it's just how long did it take you to take them all out, more than will you take them out or not.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. If you liked Defenders of the Realm, will you like Defenders of the Last Stand? Will you like it better? Will you like it at all? Will you like it least?
Yeah, I think that's actually a good question. Or even more importantly, if you own Defenders of the Realm, do you need to own both?
Correct.
I'm not sure that you need to own both. They're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Quick differences in Defenders of the Last Stand, there's those story adventure cards. There's a different spots on the board where you can dig for stuff. That wasn't in the first one. The Puke, his monsters, the abominations or whatever they're called, mutations, monstrosities. Those are different because you flip a card, see what you're fighting. Mm-hmm. The fact that you can mutate is new. There's basically just a bunch more addition, and I also think the theme is stronger in this one. Defenders of the Realm is pretty generic fantasy.
Correct.
This is generic, I guess, post-apocalyptic, but there's not a lot of it, so it doesn't matter.
Right. But I think they went a little bit further with the adventure cards and with the other things that are there that enrich that theme a little bit more that Defenders of the Realm just doesn't have.
I really think this beats Defenders of the Realm pretty much in every way. It has more stuff going on. The story's stronger. The graphic design, while still not great, it's okay at best, is still better than Defenders of the Realm. The miniatures are better.
Yeah.
Except the dragons. The dragons in Defenders of the Realm.
Dragons are really good, yeah.
The bosses have a very unique, distinctive feeling. The other ones did too, but I think these do more. So if I could only get one, I'd get this one. In fact, I'm keeping this one over Defenders of the Realm. However, if you already own Defenders of the Realm, I would try this one out first to see, because they will give you pretty much identical feelings of how they play.
Okay, so if you did not like Defenders of the Realm, will you like this?
I don't think so.
You think it's that similar?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it depends what you don't like about it. If it's because you don't like generic fantasy, like we played with Z, and he liked this better than Defenders of the Realm because he doesn't like fantasy that much, but he likes post-apocalyptic, so he changed. So if it's a theme that you do to hang up on, you'll do it.
Maybe.
But if it's the gameplay and rolling dice, if that's the stuff that bothered you, this ain't going to do
Why
much.
are you playing these games if you don't like rolling dice?
But, I mean, what were your overall impressions? Did you like it?
No, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I had a great time with it. I do like it a little bit more than Defenders of the Realm, which is strange because I'm not as huge on the post-apocalyptic thing like Z is. I do enjoy fantasy themes a lot, but the extra story, the more immersive elements that are in this game bring it over the top for me. So the miniatures were a little bit of a disappointment. They're just not what I'm used to. I know that we're really spoiled with miniatures nowadays.
Yeah, this is a 2016 problem, really.
It is. It's first world problem, but it is there. We do have to mention it. The models are not what you're used to getting in most of the newer miniature games that are hitting the market now. But with that being said, they're not horrible either. They're just not up to par with what everything else is coming out. So I enjoyed the game. You don't have to paint the minis. It will add more
if you're going to
differentiation to it.
Paint the big guys.
Yeah, the big ones are probably the most fun to paint. The little guys are not very well as far as details are concerned, so it might look like a blob of paint riding a bicycle around than a guy on a motorcycle. But anyway, that's really neither here nor there if you want to go into that realm of hobbying and painting and all that kind of stuff. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, I really enjoyed it. I liked that I had a lot of options, but not too many. So I'll give this 2 thumbs up easy.
Yeah, I'm going to give it actually 2.5 mutant-sized thumbs up.
That's like 5 fingers or something.
Yeah, well, they're all in the same hand.
5 thumbs. Ugh.
No, but I really love this game. Now, I know there's some niggling problems with it, but for the most part, it's just an amazingly fun, very immersive thematic experience. Like Sam says, I'm not a huge post-apocalyptic, but I do like it when it's tongue-in-cheek more, which I felt this game was. I like there's different factions. I feel the great freedom on your turn. What can I do? Whatever I want. Should I go fight? I mean, there are times where it's like, yeah, you need to go fight these guys. But sometimes you're like, I'll go over here and fight these guys. I'll go gamble. I'll go over here and, dig and look for this unique artifact. I will go do this or that. And then eventually, okay, now we all need to work together. It's time to beat down Puke, or beat down Crank or whatever the different guys are. I really enjoyed that factor. And I like that there's different scenarios. The one scenario was like, get this big laser gun online. We didn't pull it off. But
multiple
if we did,
paths to victory.
then you're shooting people. And I think that sort of thing is like a cool addition to the game.
Right.
And that scenario thing is something that can even be expanded on. They could probably add more scenarios to this. That's like a box of goodies. So definitely going in my collection. I love it a lot. Defenders of the Last Stand.
So, see you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.